World's most dangerous places. I'm here with Reza. We're going to go through some things. Reza picked out something he kind of was intrigued by, and we're going to lay it out for you.
Yes, this intrigued me because I'm about to take a trip. And you have here on page 83 of the World's Most Dangerous Places a little section titled DP Survival Course, 7 Things That Will Save Your Life. And you have a list here. So number 1 on your list is be alert.
Like, is the most obvious piece of advice you could ever give anybody.
Of course.
But what we tend to forget is that in our home, we know how things should sound, where things should be, where your dog's sitting, where the gate is, what sound it makes when you open it. When you're traveling, everything's new, so you're overwhelmed by sensory input. And you've got sounds, you've got noises, you've got people speaking strange languages. So your sensory overload is actually dulling your common sense about don't do that, don't do this. Plus, you might be taking pictures, you might be talking to somebody, you might be reading your little book or whatever. So the simplest thing to think about is to stop and look behind you. In other words, when you're walking down a street, most people are fixated on where they're going, and they're being watched. They're literally being watched by hundreds, dozens, 1 or 2. It doesn't really matter, but they're watching you because you're a tourist, and you're not used to being there, and you may be a mark or somebody they want to do something with. And one of the funny things I used to do is, in New Orleans during Carnival, the streets just packed with people. They're all drunk and they're all having fun. If you go up on a balcony and you sit down and look at the people, it's like fish, like schools of fish where everybody's kind of moving in a slow pattern, but you see people are cutting against the pattern. And you instantly notice that there's a lookout leaning against the wall, and then there's a person that he'll signal to, and that'll be the mark, and then that person will go out and bump into that person and start engaging them in a conversation and steal their wallet. And then it goes over and over and over again. It's like literally sharks inside a school of fish.
So they like post up on a street corner, and then everyone that's kind of just being trafficked through that corner, they're picking up.
Well, they're distracted. Easy. They're having fun. And even if you're on safari, if you're on a deployment or whatever, you're focused on like, okay, how do I get to this building? Or how do I, when you're driving or whatever. Very rarely do people do the 360. Stop, watch who went behind you, who's passing you. I'm not saying it's like you have to be a cop and you have to do counter surveillance, but that thinking makes you look around and realize there's a structure to the environment. Yeah. Whether it's the guy on the corner selling oranges or whether it's the person up in the window looking down, there's usually a structure to a neighborhood. So that's one thing. And then again, when I lay out 7 things, I think that's actually the most important, because having situational awareness and judging the terrain as potentially threatening and also potentially helping you is really important. And an example of that is, as you get to know people, local people, ask them, why is that person doing that? Or why is this thing like that? Or whatever. And you start to see the rhythms of where you're at. And, for example, in Islamic countries, you hear the call to prayer and suddenly everybody gets up and walks to the mosque, right? And it's like there's certain rhythms in different countries that you might not notice.
So like situational awareness, do you need that in a place that you're familiar with?
You normally have it. I mean, I don't know, when you get up in the morning in your bed and your socks are over there and your shoes are over there and somebody moved your socks, you're kind of like, yeah, my socks got moved, right? Or didn't I put my watch there yet? You know that. Everything is where you want it. Yeah. You hear a sound like, it's 8:30, my neighbor isn't leaving for work yet, or maybe that's funny, I don't remember that car. So yeah, you do have situational awareness.
Yeah, but is it like it's almost a practice, right? Like it's funny because we've been on trips and we talk about situational awareness so much, and then you realize some people have been in country, and it's like some people have it and some people just don't have it at all, and it's kind of a skill that you can practice. So how do you get better at situational awareness?
Let's ramp it up. So I'm talking about the old days, right? Today, most people wear earphones. They have a cell phone. They tend to use that as their navigational tool. They tend to actually rely on their phone to take them to the place they want to go. And they're literally looking at the phone, which is signaling to everybody around you that you have no idea where you're going, which is a perfect opportunity for a mark to say, oh, can I help you? Or, whack your phone out of your hand or whatever. So we've moved out of that sort of feral, like, where am I? What does it smell like? Is that, like, now it's like headphones, turn left 200 yards.
Totally.
And to tell you a funny story, so where I live, it's not on any road. It's a private road, and there's multiple roads with the same names. And I will tell truck drivers, let me tell you how to get to my place. And they'll say, no, not good. Just give me your address. I'm going to punch it in. I said, no, if I punch in my address, you'll call me in 20 minutes from a dead end, locked gate, yelling at me that my gate's locked. And I say, I don't want to deal with the hassle. No, just get on my computer. It's fine. Just give it to me. Like, no. So my point is that sometimes, forget your phone, ask somebody, hey, I want to get to this hotel. I want to get to this thing. And sometimes that's more of a situational experience than just being locked into your phone. So
your next one on the list. So did you list these in kind of order of importance?
Yeah. I mean,
this is a big one then, I think.
Yeah.
This one's be sober. Which is kind of speaks for itself. But
the number one time to be robbed and the number one place to be robbed is in a very narrow window between, let's say, midnight and sort of 4 a.m, right? You ask any cop, like, when do the calls start coming in? And it's because people go out and they have a good time. They get a little, hammered or looped, and then the vultures come out. And I'm telling you, it's like if you go to the Serengeti and you see the wildebeest, and then there's the crocodiles in the water. It's like they look for the weak and the slow ones. And people who are drunk are the world's most perfect targets. If you walk down the street, what I tell people is walk down the middle of the street. If you've had a couple of drinks or maybe too many, walk down the center of the street and you'll actually get people saying, hey man, you know what time it is? Like, it's 3 a.m. It doesn't matter what time it is. And people will try to gauge, like, okay, how do I get this guy over into this alley or into this sort of dark place so I can rob him? And again, it depends on where you go, because a lot of times people want to help you. They're like, oh my God, you need to get to a taxi. I'll drive you here or whatever. I remember walking home from some place, I think it was in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, and I was looking for a taxi, and they tend to be like these little ladas, right? And so I saw what I thought was a taxi, and I waved the guy down. He pulls over. I get in the car with 2 like completely strange men. And I tell them where I'm going, and they go, oh, okay. And they just take me there. And then I go to pay them, and they're like, no, we're not a taxi. We just think you shouldn't be walking around drunk in the middle of the night. So, I mean, there's a little bit of luck involved there, right?
You're allowed to drink in Uzbekistan?
Oh, man, that's all they do is they do this.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so the Soviet thing, the old Russian thing is basically pure vodka, outside, freezing cold, and just slamming, and then toasts, right? Boom, boom, boom. And, for like a wussy pussy like me who doesn't drink like a bottle of vodka every day, by the 3rd or 4th shot, you're gone. You're gone. And they just keep going. I mean, they'll drink all night long.
Jesus.
Anyway, but I don't advise that. I'm just saying that when you're traveling, you're at your weakest when you're under the influence of A, not paying attention, and B, substances.
Yeah, and substances are going to get you into trouble right away.
And also don't buy things when you're overseas, or carry anything when you're overseas. But that should be an obvious.
When you mean buy things, you're talking about buying something.
Don't try to buy drugs.
Yeah,
don't think, hey, I'm in Thailand, I'm going to get a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Because you have no idea what you're getting.
And maybe it's too late when you get it,
Totally.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. A lot of these things are kind of like mitigation before the event starts. So just stay sober. Enjoy it.
It's hard.
It's hard because
you're on vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're at a resort, then okay, fine, but that's not a dangerous place. I'm just saying
But
that.
the funny thing is that even at resorts, most of the time, like we had those instances in the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, where you have Mexico, you have all these people dying and they're drinking this alcohol, and this bad alcohol. It's
and
like
also,
over and over again.
When you're under the influence, your inhibitions drop. So you're more likely to have some guy like, hey man, let me show you some real bars. Right. And then you end up in the wrong place. Right. And I've got many experiences where you're going to go on an adventure because some guy's going to show you the real, back alleys. And suddenly you look around and you go, this is a really, really dumb idea. And their favorite thing is to, like, the bill comes and there's like 20 people at your table and you realize, like, oh, wait, I'm buying drinks for everybody, aren't I? Anyway.
Okay. All right. So Number 3 is use it or lose it.
Yeah, and this is a disease that we all have. Is we're going on a trip, we're going to go to some exotic place, tropical desert, like off we go to REI or online, and we've got to get all the latest gear. And unless you're willing to just have it stolen, given away, or lost, or whatever, don't buy it, right? And I used to travel with my Rolex. I used to think it was nice to have a nice durable watch, and I realized it's like a big red beacon on my head, right?
Totally.
So I started buying those Timexes. They were $20, now they're $30, $40, and I would give it away. And my guide would be looking at my watch, going, nice watch. Oh, here, you won.
Right.
So my point is that it's such an obvious temptation to buy like water filters and GPSs.
Before a trip, everyone's, that's they got it, right? They go to the store and they get all the gear, yeah.
Right, and I'm just saying that at the end of the day, when you get to where you're going, your guide shows up with a pair of flip-flops, some soccer shorts, and an old T-shirt, and that's it. And like, where's your shit? It's like, it's in this plastic bag. It's like, and I'm like, well, I got like this new backpack I bought, and it's got like zippers, and inside is all this cool stuff, and it's like, okay.
I think it would be interesting if we did a little, if we did a separate video on this subject, and we busted out our bags and showed people what we actually pack. Because my whole thing is like, pack as light as possible, and I always tend to pack a little less than over prepare, because I figure I'll get what I can either buy what I need when I'm overseas, and usually it's less expensive, or what I'm packing, yes, I'm willing to give it away. I mean, it's a great way to create rapport.
When I go into a war, into a physical war, I need a first aid kit. I need something in case something happens. I need sometimes ballistic armor because they require you to wear it. So I'll buy the fancy stuff and I'll just give it to somebody. It's expensive, but it's a great gift. Keep somebody else alive. I might need a knife or some kind of utility thing. And, again, with the idea that I'm going to give that to somebody before I leave, because it's a lot more difficult for him to get that than for me to rebuy when I get home.
And they're always going to ask for it. Someone's going to ask for it along the way.
Well, I'll still take it from you. And then my point is that think that way, and it's a healthy way to think, that the people you're about to visit will look at your stuff and buy that stuff according to the idea that maybe this would be a great gift for some guy that's been with you for 2 weeks.
That's so hard for people. What is it? What do you think is beneficial about that process? Less preparation.
No, when we travel, we take, like when an affluent Westerner goes to a developing country, we take from them. We take their time. We take their attention. We take a lot of things that we think are like cheap or free. And yes, they'll charge you money sometimes, or sometimes they won't. But a lot of times they just want to hang out with you to get like a friend that's in the States, and they'll talk to you about,
No, it feels good to give. I like giving. I'm talking about also just the preparation.
But if you got $1,000 watch or a $5,000 watch, you run the risk of somebody taking that watch because they know exactly what that watch is worth. They can like on their phone and go, oh, wow, it's a GMT Master that's worth X. And that puts you at risk, right? Whereas the $50 Timex or the Casio Explorer or whatever is a real prize for someone that maybe can't afford that over there. So I'm not saying you have to be Mother Teresa and come back naked, but I'm saying that with the things you buy that you bring to a place should be reasonable enough that they can be gifts and given to people.
Yeah. And then what about the practice of going on a trip, of taking less than you think you need, or
depends on the place. So like if you're going to Ukraine, I mean, they got supermarkets. They got everything you need, like clothing. I mean, they're big people. They have beautiful tactical gear. They got boots. They go, and it's typically much cheaper than you'd buy it over here. So you'd be crazy to bring a ton of crap over there. If you're going to, let's say, the mountains of Pakistan, you might not get the same choices, but you'd be surprised how many dead hikers there are and how many boots you can buy. Backpacks. At places like Afghanistan, they have tactical stores that have more stuff than our tactical stores. I mean, most of it's made in China, but I'm just saying that just bring the things that you couldn't possibly get. A good pair of boots or shoes, any medications you might need, any first aid medications, any like Cipro and stuff like that in case you had intestinal problems. But don't be surprised if you find it much cheaper when you get over there.
And then just think of weather, kind of just know the weather. And obviously your pack's going to be heavier if you're going to a colder environment. But if you're going somewhere hot, you really don't need to bring too much.
You wear the same clothes.
You wear the same thing.
In the winter in Afghanistan, I think I wore the same clothes for like a month and a half.
Most Westerners want to bring an outfit for every single day. And the truth is you're going to wear the same stuff day after day. Just bring
it's not sexy like on Instagram, you know. Like it's a little disturbing how people will dress when they go on expeditions or to remote places, but in terms of comfort, you'll get used to washing your socks and your underwear and your shirt and then leaving them to dry.
And there's no point to bring more outfits because they all get trashed anyways. Everything starts smelling like crap by day 3, so it's like, who cares? So
at the end of the day, you know, think about how little you need to go to where you want to go. And then the fun of saying, oh, I need to buy a scarf or something to put around my neck, or I need to buy sunglasses or whatever. And you can get anything everywhere now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so the next one is going to be, this is number 4. It's Insure and Insure. And I think you're talking about insurance.
Yeah, so the Westerners have this funny thing about losing stuff. And we just talked about not bringing stuff that's really super expensive. But a lot of people will bring a camera. They'll bring something that maybe if they lost it, they would get stressed out or whatever. And it's relatively easy to go online and buy insurance. And that way your Western mind can relax. Now, 9 times out of 10, they don't pay, but that's fine because they'll go, oh, well, wait, you were in this country and you were in a taxi and you're like, we don't insure that. You know, we had a flight to catch once.
Don't tell people that. That's scary.
Well, I'm just telling you the truth. So we had a Canadian producer who insisted on buying insurance for everything, right? And it's a smart thing to do.
Smart, yeah.
And the idea being that you buy a bunch of tickets, and if you miss your flight, you get them reimbursed. And we were hauling ass to get to the airport, and we stopped at this station, and somebody filled up our vehicle with water instead of fuel, which I don't know why he would do that. But we got about 10 miles down the road.
Where was this?
This was in Tajikistan.
Oh, okay.
And the point was that we missed the plane, and he just filed for claim. You know, give me all these tickets back. They said, no, we're not going to pay that. It's like, you have to prove that the following occurred. And he had a hell of a time. And I thought, you know, this insurance was not designed to actually be paid out, right? And so you have to be careful. But at the same time, health insurance, for example, what they call MedEvac. If you're going to, let's say, Chad, like we were in Chad, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and you suddenly get hit by a truck, or you step on a landmine, or you get some horrific, bug, they will literally fly in an aircraft and come get you. And then they'll fly out, not to your home, but to the nearest hospital, which is usually like Istanbul or Rome or something like that, or it could be Nairobi. And then you'll have medical care. So that type of extraction is incredibly expensive if you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the insurance covers that. And it's pennies. It's not much at all. So look into various insurance providers. Get on your Yelp and your internet stuff, and then pick the one that you think is the best. But sometimes having insurance reduces stress.
Yeah, so at the very least, have something that's going to save your life. Like
the MedEvac. And they do have other insurance policies you can buy for your airline tickets, your hotel, all that kind of stuff. And it's if you read the fine print, it's a little irritating. But,
and then are there forms of insurance like a sat phone? That's not like like a professional service insurance, but like something that can insure against certain things like that are like low entry, like a sat phone. Like if you just bring a sat phone for yourself, and you're paying that subscription, and that's gonna solve all kinds of problems.
That's not insurance per se, but it is kind of insurance. So if you remember correctly, we broke down in the Sahara Desert, and I just happened to have an inReach. So Iridium and Garmin sort of team up, and coming soon it'll be on your phone as well, but you can send texts by satellite, so you don't have to have cell phone service. So again, you're talking about something that's like $50, it's nothing. And in that particular case, it was worth every penny. Now, if you have a sat phone, which is fine, but you'll pay per minute if you're using the sat phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Texts aren't so much, but some of these new things like inReach are actually really cool ideas, and again, it just reduces your sense of concern and stress if you're in a very remote place.
It helps so much. Okay, the next one we have is trust no one.
Exactly. Trust no one and trust everyone.
Yeah.
So that's my advice again. So when you enter into a foreign environment, you're like a splinter, right? You're not hurting anybody, but you're irritating people because you're always asking questions, you want something. And there are systems set up to service tourists, right? But there's also places where they don't want outsiders, and these could be rebel areas, they could be criminal areas, and they look at you as like a very negative thing. And they will do a lot of things to either get you out of there or to harm you or to even kidnap you, And one of the things that we do as Americans and as Westerners is assume that everybody's happy to see us because we got money, we want this and we want that, whatever. And if you go to some like certain bars in Mexico or some little towns in Pakistan, you realize they don't want you there because they're in the business of breaking the law, right? Mm-hmm. So even cab drivers, for example, cab drivers want to know where you're going, what you're doing, because sometimes they get paid for tips. And some countries are like Myanmar, Syria, whatever. They're very interested in anyone that shows up, Iran, whatever. So those people are not your friend per se. They just want to know who you are. At the same time, if you build a rapport with people, and I'm not talking about people that walk up to you, I'm talking about people that you walk up to, start up a conversation, ask them some questions, and then they agree to help you or do something. Those people can be very beneficial, but a lot of times they're approached by local intelligence services, and suddenly they become compromised. So you have to be careful when you make friends overseas in hostile places.
So you want to be super friendly, forward facing, but at the same time you don't want to
there's a game going on.
Yeah.
I mean, in China it takes 17 seconds to use facial recognition to find you. There's a reason for that, right? It's not like they're your friend.
Man, I was in China, there were cameras everywhere in the back of a park with like little workout wooden benches and pull-up bars. There's like 6 cameras, like 360 degrees. You would never think a camera would be there. They're everywhere. When
I was in Syria, I traveled all over the country, and I was in this one small town, and I could hear this motorcycle, little like scooter that had a broken muffler, like, and finally I realized this guy was following me all day long. So finally I walked up to him. I said, "Look, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to get into Iraq. I'm bringing medical supplies, blah, blah, blah. Here's where I'm staying. Here's what time I get up. Here's where I eat lunch." And then he became my friend, right? And then I was saying, like, you don't have to follow me around. He said, but that's his job, right? Like, literally assumed that I'm up to no good.
Yeah.
And he's probably even more concerned that I was talking to him now because then he knows that definitely I'm up to no good.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. How do you keep from becoming paranoid? Because I've traveled with you to a couple places, and you straddle that line really well. You're friendly with everyone. We start joking around. We make tons of friends. But we've also been to Serbia together, where it's like secret police are all around.
Yeah. Or remember that time I almost stabbed that guy in the desert, right? I mean, things can escalate very quickly, right? And I'm just saying that 9 times out of 10, that's not a scientific number, but you'll be fine. You just mind your own business. You enjoy yourself. You get out of there. People are watching you. And if you do what you're supposed to do as a tourist, that's cool. Like I just recently flew to an unnamed country in the Middle East to pick up secret documents. And my associate says, let's go to the museums. I'm like, I don't want to go to museums. We're going to the museums. So we went to museums all day long as basically as a cover. For why was I there? Well, he's going to the museum. He's taking pictures. He's looking at this. He's looking at that. Had I just stayed in the hotel, they would say, why is this guy in the hotel all day? Let's get something in his room and let's find out who he's talking to. And
interesting.
And there was a guy that was coming from another country to surveil me, and he got held at the airport. And I'm just saying, it was serious shit. And but I skated through it, which is fine.
And you keep a pretty level head while that's going on. I just know some people
freak
out, right?
You have to, because I'm not breaking the law in my country, but I'm sure they think I'm breaking the law in their country, which I'm not. But I'm doing something that's very, very sensitive, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not being a spy. I'm being a journalist. But you will find that being a journalist, being a film, being known, because don't forget the They literally type your name and your name pops up on Google, right? They're wondering, what are you up to? Which rebel group are you meeting with? Like, who's sponsoring you, or why are you here? Blah blah blah. So ultimately, just be aware of that world, right? Yeah. Even though you're just like Joe Q Public going to Syria because somebody said, "Oh, you got to go visit this place." There's a whole world around you watching you and figuring out what you're doing.
Yeah.
And by the way, Russia, like. Look at how many people get grabbed in Russia and suddenly become spies.
Totally. Iran and Russia.
So just be aware of that world, right? Even though you're not doing anything and maybe you're doing missionary work or whatever, but it's like nobody's exempt from it. So.
The next one's a good piece of advice. People don't really think of this. It's stay away from tourists.
So the world's worst things are tourists because they're not natural. And they set up entire infrastructures and they set up entire places just for tourists, just with like milking cows. Just the goal is to get every nickel out of your pocket before you go home, right? And within that ecosystem are the bad guys, you know, the touts, the prostitutes, the con artists, the swindlers, whatever, the pickpockets. And they gravitate to where the tourists are. And whether it's lining up at an ATM or whether lining up to go into a museum or being in a resort or hotel or whatever, you are the prey. You are the thing they feed off of. And again, being a tourist is not a noble thing. It's like somebody with a lot of money, with a very short amount of time, that wants to do a lot of bad things. I mean, when I say bad, I mean get drunk, have a good time, whatever, and then leave like in 2 weeks or a week. And this is why everybody who picks you up is, how long are you here for? Like when you get a cab at the airport, like, oh, how long are you in town for? Is this your first time? And da-da-da-da. And whether it means he drives you halfway around the city to get to your hotel, or whether it means he tells his friends, like, yeah, room 252, there's a guy from, Los Angeles in there. Again, be aware that as a tourist, you are a form of food product or subsistence for an entire ecosystem of bad people.
Mm-hmm. How do you get into the mindset of not being a tourist?
Stay away from tourists. Don't go to tourist hotels. Don't go to tourist attractions. Don't go to tourist countries. I mean, I honestly, like, you got to understand that it's hard to get away from tourists. You know, ever since China, like, sent millions of tourists out there, try to find a place where they're not all walking around with selfie sticks and looking up at themselves while people are picking their pockets and whatever. But what I'm saying is that there are hotels that tourists don't stay in. There are places and towns that people don't go to. Yeah. And as a person, let's say, who's working as a journalist or a filmmaker, don't try to rack up your points at the Marriott, right? Like, because that's where everybody's sitting in the lobby.
That's what everybody does here, though.
But that's what they do. And by the way, I recommend, if you really are doing something unhealthy, by all means, book your first night at the Hilton. Have them pick you up at the airport. Tell the driver that you're there on vacation and that you just want to go bird watch, or whatever bullshit story you're going to tell a cab driver or the front desk. You know, get your rest, get your shower, get your clothes done, whatever, and then hit it, right?
And then get out.
But again, you know, the idea of tourism is when you're working and you're not a tourist, is that there are people waiting for you. Mm-hmm. Whether they're touts at bars or whether they're prostitutes trying to put drugs in your drink, whatever, you know. And I'm not saying the world's like that. I'm just saying, but that's where they prefer to go.
Yeah.
And I like to call tourists like mobile ATM machines, because tourists are always walking around with things that I can sell.
Yeah.
There's an iPhone, there's a camera, there's $50 sunglasses, there's whatever, you know, purse.
I think if you can put yourself in the mindset of the people of where you're traveling to, I mean, they're just looking at you and seeing dollar signs over your head, because that is the economy there. This is interesting because, like, all of this, all of these points kind of go back to that first point of being alert and situational awareness. And I feel like there's levels, like after that first point, there's levels of situational awareness, and they just get deeper and deeper, like what you're going
Here's an example. Here's an example. Don't go to a place and just be paranoid. It's not going to help you. Mm-hmm. Before you go to a place, go on Google or your favorite search engine and type in foreigner killed, and then plus the country you're going to. Foreigner kidnapped plus the country. Foreigner robbed plus the country or town you're going to, right? And you'll see all these things that you didn't hear about in the news, and you're thinking, oh, I didn't know about that. Like, I was in the embassy in Nairobi, and I was there to pick up the remains of one of my friends, right, who had died. And as I walked into the office where they handle those things, I saw this row of luggage with like little tourist tags, and people put those belts and those little ribbons on them, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And each piece of luggage had a story. This guy was on his way to the airport. The van broke down. He got mad at the guy. He went out to help push. He got hit by a truck. Boom, dead. This woman was on medication, and she took some kind of malarial and something else, and she died. This person, blah, blah. It's like each story, and I'm like, wow. So my point is that I don't want you to be terrified of a place. I just want you to be aware of what happens in that place. So that awareness, that situational awareness, is part of the picture. So when you get there, you kind of know if it's like a safe or a dangerous place. Like I told you, I was doing a thing on Mexico and what the most dangerous thing in Mexico was. And I was doing my research, and I'm like, oh my God, balcony, balcony, balcony. I say, all these people are falling off of balconies in Cancun. And I'm like, this must be some like Russian operation. Like, no, all the balconies are old hotels and they're rusty, and people are leaning on the balconies and they fall to their death. And I'm like,
there's a famous singer from One Direction, Liam Payne or something. He just fell off balcony in Argentina.
But he had a glass balcony, so it's different. But what I'm saying is,
I know, but I'm just saying that
you can find things that blow your mind if you do your own research.
Yeah. And I've done it too. And you know what keeps popping up? Alcohol. Like how much alcohol is related in all of these deaths.
Well, people talk about things that are inside drugs. You know, people dying because they bought some drug and it had rat poison or whatever it is. And again, this all sounds terrible, like I'm not going anywhere. But again, statistically, you're more likely to get into trouble where you live than you are when you're traveling, because you are focused. You are sort of in safer places like airports and hotels, and it's not that dangerous. Buses are regulated, your car isn't, type of thing. So on a scale of like, where should I be really terrified? It's like, probably when you're at McDonald's ordering a double Mac and you look at most people die of heart disease, that might be the thing that should scare you. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But traveling is a joy, right? And all these new experiences flood in. So just focus on the right things, not the wrong things.
Yeah. And I don't even think it's a trade-off. I mean, I think that it's just the positives of traveling. I mean, far outweigh any of these negatives. Yeah. But we're just trying to tell people how to mitigate and
what I tell people is that you're not afraid of flying, you're afraid of crashing. So you're not afraid of traveling, you're afraid of something happening when you're traveling. So that's the focus, is the more you can avoid harming you or causing you problems, the more you're going to enjoy whatever you're doing.
So let's get so the last point is prevent opportunists.
Right. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the travel thing, but there are ecosystems that are set up in war zones. For example, back when ISIS was kidnapping people in Syria, they had literally set up a guy that would feed them to ISIS. When journalists show up in war zones, people immediately go from wanting $20 a day to $100 a day. And you're like, well, how did that happen? It's like, because CBS was here or so-and-so was here, and then suddenly everybody thinks that's what it costs to do that. Places like, West Africa, when you want to charter a vehicle and you're like, why is it that much? And it's like, oh, because the last guy paid us that. So there is a knock-on effect of going into areas, dangerous or not dangerous, where other people have gone. And you remember trying to charter a car in Chad, right? Just a Land Cruiser, and everybody was coming up with these crazy numbers, right? And I remember I was in Gulu in northern Uganda, and I was out trying to get up into Sudan. Well, I did get up Sudan, but I needed a vehicle. And I talked to all these people, and they all gave me different prices, ridiculous prices. And when I said, no, I need to see the vehicle, it was the same Land Rover. Had the same vomit in the back, had the same squeaky engine. So they're all selling me the same car at different prices. So just be aware that when you go into a place that not many Westerns go into, but they have been there, there is a system waiting for you.
Uh-huh. So it's a good tip on like negotiating and.
Well, I'm telling people in the spirit of don't get kidnapped, right? Because there's different values of Westerners, right? So a Westerner can be someone who goes to your restaurant and pays for the meal, or it could be a guy that rents your car, or it could be a guy you sell to a terrorist group. So just be aware that you're worth something, and that every time you enter a place where you think nobody's ever been before, or nobody knows who you are, they're calculating what your worth is.
Yeah. And obviously some countries are more dangerous than others, so not everybody has to worry about this, but it depends on the level of dangerous travel that you're getting into or how you're traveling.
So other than my book, there is no singular source for danger around the world. Some countries, bless their little pointed heads, keep statistics on tourist crime, right? And they keep statistics on local crime. But 9 times out of 10, or maybe even worse than that, all the time, when you're going to Papua New Guinea and you're trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I stay away from the bad place? There's nothing. You just know that, oh, this guy got robbed, this guy got murdered, this guy got kidnapped, this guy got this guy got that. And in your case, it's actually easier to talk to the people who kidnap people than try to stay away from, so it's a funny world where if you approach danger head on, it's you can deal with it.
Yeah.
But when you're wondering, like, okay, should I stay at this hotel or that hotel or eat at this restaurant? There's not a lot out there. Not a lot out there. So you got to do your own research. You got to talk to people that you trust when you get there. And
I think that's what you're good at, is preventing those opportunists. And sometimes that is through extreme honesty. I've seen when you travel. It's not like you're out somewhere and you're lying to everybody. I don't see you do that. No. You're usually there and you're telling them exactly what your intentions are and who you want to speak to. And I guess that's how you're getting the interviews with rebel leaders.
Exactly. And this is the funny thing, because I'm not James Bond. I don't work for Universal Export. I'm Robert Young Pelton, and I write books and I do documentaries. And you can see what I write. Just go on. Everybody's got the internet on their phone, right? So if I walk up to some guy and like, oh, I'm an international man of mystery and I'm here to sell luxury silk suits. He's like, no, you're not. That's you right there, isn't it? So I have to engage these people in what I'm really trying to do. And if they don't want me to do that thing, they will stop me from doing it. And they'll tell me, no, you can't do that. Like when I was in Bougainville, I was telling everybody what I wanted to do. And there were this rebel group chasing me around, trying to stop me from doing it. And they finally caught up to me as I was leaving. And they said, we're going to bash you up and we're going to take all your tapes. But I told my cameraman, take all the blank tapes and write down this bullshit names on them and give me all the shot tapes, and I'm going to put them in the new ones. And so when these guys stop us, we'll give them all the blank tapes. So being honest also means that you have to be honest about the repercussions of what you're doing. So anyway, I mean, look,
did you have to do that? Did you have to give the tapes away, or did that come to fruition, or no?
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? That's the point. So my point is that there are penalties for doing what you do, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to meet up with rebel groups. You're trying to meet the most dangerous man in the Philippines. You're trying to get in with rebels into Russia or whatever. And trying to be tricky about it is not going to work today. I mean, I would be very surprised if somebody could pretend to be somebody else and travel around the world, with optical recognition.
Right.
With the internet. For many years, I told you, I came back into this country and I lost my U.S. passport and I used my Canadian passport, and they put me in the line with all the criminals and the hookers and drug dealers, and I sat there for 2 hours, and finally this guy gives me an interview, and he pulls up my file, and apparently it takes 45 minutes to read my secret file. And I said to the guy, hey man, I'm famous, right? Like just Google my name. And he's like, shh. And they're really aggressive, right? Like, shh. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I sit there, and he's like laughing. He's like, ooh, he's like this. And I'm like, what are you reading? He's shh. Keeps reading. And I'm like, what the hell? What is taking so long? And he gets to one part, and he says, how do you know this guy killed Collins? I said, he's dead. He said, how do you know him? I said, I wrote a book about him. He's in the Discovery documentary. I'm like, I told you, Google. So when he's done reading this, he goes on Google, and he says, oh, you're right. You're famous. Like, yeah, you could have done that in the beginning. But it was like a punishment or something for not bringing my U.S. passport. But my point is, there's so much data available on just about anybody.
Right.
So it's hard to sneak around. And secondly, when you try to get people to help you, they're also going to check you out. They're also going to figure out what you're worth, who do you really work for, what do you really want, et cetera, et cetera. So just remember that.
Okay, cool. Well, that was the DP survival course, and yeah,
we're done.
I thought that was great. Yeah.
We're out of here.
Yeah.